Good afternoon and welcome to Biztech's Asian Midday Market Watch, powered by Rajhi Bank, Malaysia. Vishnu Varathan, Head of Economics and Strategy, is our guest today. Vishnu, great to have you on the show.
Good afternoon, Brian. Always good to be here. Thanks for having me on today.
Now, Vishnu, before we get your insights, let's take a look at how regional stock markets are performing. But before that, let's take a look at how cryptocurrencies are performing. Bitcoin is at 20,003. It's up 8.03%. Ethereum is at 1,079.08. It's up 11.49%. If we look at regional stock markets, we've got the Straits Times Index, which is up 0.07%. You've got the KLCI, which is down 1.22%. Shanghai is up 0.11%. The ASX All Ordinaries is down 0.87%. The Nikkei is down 1.23%. The Hang Seng is up 0.07%. And rounding up the numbers, we've got the Kospi, which is down 2.56%. Now, Vishnu, what's your view on market performance this morning?
It does look like markets are, trying to consolidate right now. And I think one thing to frame here is we did see U.S. equities bouncing back on Friday. We saw Nasdaq up more than 1%, but that must be framed in context of the fact that for the week, U.S. equities were down anywhere between the ballpark of 5 to 6%, and that's after a really hawkish Fed adjustment that saw markets being jolted somewhat. So this week appears to me like it's the start of a week on a hopeful consolidation mode. But the one thing, and usually I wait for you to ask me what's up ahead in the week, but this time I'm going to put it out there first. I mean, one of the non-data events is Fed Chair Jerome Powell is going to be testifying to the Congress. And I think they're probably, inflation being the hot potato issue, they're going to press him on it. And chances are there would be some more hawkish remarks from him, as we heard from some others over the weekend as well. So that could keep markets on the edge, which is why we are quite wary of declaring a false dawn here.
Okay, so before I get into that, and I'm going to come back to that in a second, just a couple of key numbers that came out. China left its 1 year and 5 year loan prime rates unchanged this morning. And shares of Alibaba fell more than 2%, despite the hopes that China's central bank has accepted Alibaba affiliate and group's application to form a financial holding company. Now, that revives hope of a potential public listing of Ant. Now, this is obviously news that's current right now. But again, I think all talk is around inflation, stagflation, and our dreaded R word, recession. Janet Yellen has come out and said that recession is not on the cards, but inflation definitely is. You've got some charts to talk around these issues.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing we want to bear in mind, that the more aggressive the Fed gets, and here's the irony, the more the US economy is able to show resilience for the next 6 to 9 months, the higher the chances of a recession being triggered. Whether this is within the US or in some places outside, I think then becomes a point to pick on in terms of the details, but the bigger picture remains. And as we've shown in this chart, if we start from the 1990s, all the gray bars there are periods of recession. The shorter gray bar around 98 is shorter because it wasn't a US recession. It was, however, the Asia financial crisis. And all this happened, hot on the heels of a tightening cycle by the Fed. So we thought it would be interesting to track what was the tightening cycle that led to the recession, how long it lasted, how much rates were tightened, and where they ended up. So the one thing that comes across here is right now where the Fed is projecting rates to end up by early 2023 is still much lower than some of the rates that we've seen in the 90s. That said, the pace of tightening, given the current projections, which was stepped up dramatically last week, is that the pace of tightening is almost twice that, or maybe more. If you look at it, it's almost 30 basis points per month as compared to in past, where it's not been any more than 19 basis points per month. So the pace of tightening is something that we want to keep a keen eye on, and that's there's just no being distracted from the fact that the path to avoiding some kind of downturn is getting much narrower. It becomes more a discussion about the extent of the downturn and the duration of the downturn.
And Vishnu, then looking ahead, what are some key issues that you highlighted in your market commentary today that we should be watching out for, not only today, but for the rest of the week?
I mean, for the rest of the week, we probably need to watch out for a few things. One is coming on the back of the weekend. So just to recap a little bit, Fed speakers have sounded even more hawkish. I mean, even Fed Chair Jerome Powell, who's somewhat more guarded or conditional on his views, used the term unconditional when it came to describing the Fed's approach to tackling inflation this time. Fed Waller said the same thing. In fact, he expressly said that for September, which Jerome Powell left open as a 50 or 75 basis point hike, he said he prefers a 75 basis point move. He also said he's less concerned about what's causing inflation now. So the usual argument about this is cost push inflation, is going to fade, is due to temporary things. He says he no longer cares. He says that inflation is too high and his primary job is to bring it down. That again suggests a more aggressive approach. So on that back of that, we're going to watch what other Fed speakers say, particularly what Jerome Powell says to the Congress. So that's going to be quite important. Other than that, most central banks have been done. The major central banks are done with their moves, but in the region, we really want to watch what the Philippine Central Bank and Bank Indonesia do on Thursday. Philippine Central Bank has flagged that they may hike. Bank Indonesia has not. We think both will hike, given the kind of market turbulence and I think the increasing nervousness around macro stability and currency stability rather than domestic inflation concerns versus growth trade-offs alone. So it's going to become more complex, for the time being at least. We also want to keep, from the corner of our eye, watch out how the yen is performing. We bear in mind that last week, one of the things that really screamed out was, as every other central bank got more aggressive, BOJ dug in its heels and said, no, we are going to be very, very dovish. So if yields rise further on some of Fed Powell's comments and the yen drops precariously, there can be some spillover financial stability risks that come to the region as well. So this is something else worth watching. And what goes unsaid is from some of the commentary, we think intervention risks for the yen have risen if we see moves that are too fast and too soon. So those are some of the things that we're watching this week.
Wow, that's quite a few things to really watch out for. Thank you very much, Vishnu, for your insights and for sharing your views with us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Brian.
Now, we've been speaking to Vishnu Varathan, Head of Economics and Strategy at Mizuho Bank, on Biztech's Asian Midday Market Watch, powered by Rajhi Bank, Malaysia. I'm Brian Fernandez. This video will be on our various social media platforms, as well as our website, www.biztech.asia. It will also be on Rajhi Bank's social media platforms. Please subscribe and like our various platforms. Thanks a lot for tuning in.